Hi, Chris Nielsen here with Breaking Up with Fear. I'm excited to have Kate Kunkel as my guest today. And Kate, please introduce yourself a little bit to our audience today.
Sure, I'm Kate, and I'm in Salinas, Ecuador. Moved here about almost 3 years ago. Kind of a rolling stone. I've lived a lot of different places in my life, and right now we're here while it's really quiet in our retreat center, and I'm working on a book. But it's only the last in a series of many careers. So I guess right now I'm a dementia prevention specialist, but I'm also a Reiki master and a vegan nutritionist and a harpist.
So my guess with all those things, I'm guessing you're feeling really healthy.
Yes, I do. I am very healthy. Yeah, I've been vegan 100% for the last 2 years, but I did it before when I was much younger, back in 1989. Back then, though, they didn't have as much information available, so it was a little harder to stay healthy. You know, when you don't really know what you're doing. I did it because I felt terrible for the animals, and so I just did it, and I didn't really know what I was doing, and I got quite sick, so I had to go back to eating other things. But since I've gone back to being vegan, I got my nutrition information, and yeah, now I feel great. And I do healing work with the harp as well, so sound healing and Reiki. So yeah, I'm pretty happy, and I'm 62 years old, and I feel better than I did when I was 32, honestly.
I love that. Better than you did at 32. That's awesome. And I
Yep.
feel pretty good myself, though my eating habits haven't been as good. I've also gone through periods of being vegetarianism from a meditation I did. They taught, yeah, these are the high energy or high vibration foods. These are not. Let them go and see where that went for me.
Good for you.
Yeah, thank you. And yeah, incredible experience. And I benefit by doing more vegetarian days. That would help me out
Yeah.
as well. But I want you
Yeah.
to share your story. Probably one of your latest of many stories of breaking up with fear, or in the process of breaking up with this particular fear. Hey, you are writing a book.
I am.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Tell us about
so the fear part of this started 10 years ago. My mom was diagnosed with dementia, and my grandmother before her had it, her on her side had it, and my father's mother passed away with dementia. So you got to know that that was pretty much a wake-up call, and my sister and I both got pretty scared because we sure didn't want to go down that path. And we could see mom going pretty rapidly. She went downhill very, very fast. Of course, she had cancer too, and that kind of complicated things. But anyway, that started this whole thing. The fear of developing that horrible disease started driving me to research. It drove me to understanding why it happens, but more importantly, that it doesn't have to happen even if you have genetic predisposition. So, you know, so now it's a passion project, right? I'm in this, and I so want to get to the bottom of this, and there's no freaking way I want to go down that road.
Right.
And it's driven by fear. But after a little while, that fear, Chris, turned to anger, because I started feeling like all these people, and my mom was in a nursing home now by this point, all these people are suffering from this horrible thing, and so many of them never had to. Because what I was learning showed me that it is mostly a lifestyle disease. So now my fears turned to anger. So now I'm going, okay, being the warrior that I am, I had to go out and say, okay, how can I share this with people? I had written a book before. You can see it up there. It's called The Healing Sound of Music. So writing the book itself wasn't the big deal, but being so paranoid, because who am I to tell people? Who am I to teach people about this? I'm a harpist. I'm a writer. I'm not a medical person.
Yeah.
And so for the last year, as I've been doing the research and going through this, I'm really fighting with the fear, you know, to not about the information, because I know it's right, and I know what I'm talking about, and I've been helping people personally, you know, feel better and clear their brain fog and improve their memories. But how do I get past that fear of being what do they call it? The imposter syndrome.
Huge. Yeah. I mean, I think it underlies most everything we do. This I'm not good enough feeling that leads to so many other
Yeah,
fears. And
exactly.
so you're not afraid to write a book because you've done that before. This was you're afraid what you were saying and how you would be perceived in what you were saying.
Yeah, because again, I'm not a medical professional, but I did go ahead and get my vegan nutritionist certification because that gave me what I considered something that would help people trust me, because who is she? How can she talk about nutrition if she doesn't, have any qualifications? So I did do that. So that's part of the getting through fear, but I'm still battling it. And I see myself doing that procrastination, because when you're afraid, you go, oh, I better clean that closet instead of finishing this chapter.
Absolutely.
But that's part of fear, right? We use procrastination and diversion and all those other things if we're trying to avoid facing our fears. So, but this one I'm battling now, and last night I put the last chapter to bed for the first version.
Congratulations! Yes.
Thank you.
That's awesome.
So the first version's done now. The horrible part, of course, is the editing, but I got through it, and now I'm hiring people to help me with the editing, of course. So that's going to push. I think that'll help me too. And I think, anybody who's going through something like this, I really think that having somebody pushing you along a little bit and charging you for it is even better. Because if I'm paying you, I'm not going to procrastinate.
No, I think you're right. I mean, we are social creatures, and we need people to have either supporting us or pushing us or going with us, even on the same journey. To make an incredible difference. And I mean, I think you said something powerful too, that you were really motivated on this particular topic to do the research. And you hadn't decided to write a book right away. It was your passion and anger that pushed you forward. And again, fear sometimes pushes us in positive ways too, to figure things out.
Yeah, we were talking just before we came on about the two emotions. I forget where I learned it, that there's only two emotions, fear and love. Mm-hmm. And I realized that the fear that I felt about Mom's was just, the anger was just part of the fear. Yeah, because it's all the same emotion. It's just got a different label on it. Yeah. And that's really been my driving force. But that's for a lot of things. Like when I was in the legal field, when I first started my grown-up life, my adult life, I was in the personal injury field, and I can remember so many times having clients come into the office, and they would be so filled with anger. But then I realize now, as I look back at it from these many years later, that probably a lot of it was fear, because they were afraid they weren't going to heal. They were afraid their lives were over. And so that turned to anger for them as well.
Thank you for that example, because I mean, that's part of breaking up with fear, and why the creation of it is there's so much anger in the world. And I believe the underlying thing in almost all anger, please correct me if I'm wrong, universe, is fear. That gets us angry. It's fear that, this could always be the same way, or fear, I'm whatever negative thing is happening in my life. Racism from fear, fear of the others, all these different things. And if we can take some of that fear away, this world can be a better place. So in fighting this journey of going through the procrastination, getting your book written, what are the lessons, things you've taken out of for yourself, and how could you, maybe pass on some of those to others?
Yeah, I'm happy to do that. So it seems the universe is amazing, because it sends people and information to you when you really need it.
Yeah.
And I met this woman online while there was an introduction to this person, Deborah Poneman, and she has this program, Yes to Success, that she's been running for 40
I love that name.
Isn't it awesome? And everything about her just oozes success, not like in a monetary, but in a spiritual, and it flows from that too. Yes. But anyway, so she was saying in our meeting was that if you're getting resistance. If you're resisting something and it's really hard for you, probably it's the thing you're supposed to be doing.
Yeah. Because I think that grows us the most, you know, when there's something we really want, but something that you were having trouble going after it. Once you break through that, you've grown so much to just do that.
Yes. And that is, I'm seeing that so much with the book. I mean, I fought with these chapters. I fought with the tone of the book, because my personal inclination, I'm very blunt. I don't pull any punches. And that's gotten me in trouble many times in my life. But I don't want to pussyfoot around this. I want to make people a little bit angry and a little bit determined and scared, because otherwise they're just passive and they just let this thing go on, and then they're 65 years old and they can't remember where they put the keys, and they can't remember how to get to their kid's house. You know, I don't want them ever to be like that. And so what drives me and what got me through this whole thing was listening to Deborah, and she said, if it's hard for you, if you're struggling with it, you're probably doing the right thing. And so over the last few weeks, as I've been putzing and I just, enough. I've had it. I'm not going to be afraid of this anymore. I've got to get it done. And so last night when I put the end on chapter 20, I'm like, okay, this is what I needed. I needed some clarification on why I was doing this, number one. And because there was so much resistance, I thought maybe I'm in the wrong direction, but no, I really think I'm doing the right thing. But I needed that from someone. I needed to hear that from someone else.
Who gave that to you? Who told you that you were on the right path?
Well, I told me I was on the right path, but it was because of what Deborah said. She said, if you're struggling, if you're fighting through something, chances are the universe is just giving you enough to make sure you're on the right path.
So she gave you a perspective that helped point you and go, you asked yourself internally all these questions, go, you know what, I am on the right path.
Yes. Yeah. I find most of the things I've done in my life, and I don't know why I struggled with it so much this time, because I've had so many things where I've pushed through stuff before. I should not have, should, that's a big word, huh? That's a nuisance word. Shoulda, woulda, coulda. But it just showed me that I needed to do this. Going back to other things that you push through, and I think many people have done this in their lives. I know I've done it. I've made some huge life changes many times in my life, and the easiest ones were always the ones that weren't necessarily the best ones.
What do you mean by that?
Changes. So when things were too easy, it was almost like those, because they were so easy, they might not have been the right decisions to make at that time.
Yeah, that's an interesting way to look at it.
Like, not that I don't believe in mistakes. Yeah, I don't believe in mistakes. I believe that if it's only a mistake if you don't learn from it.
Yeah.
But you can go down the wrong road and make your life a little more difficult. The thing is just to learn to not do that again, you know, to make the same mistake. But as I've looked back over these years, I realized that the things that were easiest were the things that didn't work out so well.
That's interesting. And let's go back to the fear aspect. And I love saying yes to it. The yes to success. And like for the Yes Man, I love that movie. Look for ways to say yes to life when life is calling you. And fear, I think, stops us so much. So out of all the things you've been through, so you're in Ecuador. Obviously, you're not from there. Originally Canada, is that correct?
Yeah.
So you've moved a bunch. People fear that too. And we talked about that a little previously. What are the things you've done that can help? Well, actually, I want to point to a couple of things. You had a big reason, your mom, right, for researching this book and trying to figure it out. And the reason that maybe could have happened to you. So you had this passion to push you forward and energy to push you forward. So even though there were fears, you went through those.
Yes, absolutely. And that's the only way to get through, right? You just have to push, or you sit there and you die.
And then that fear of that we're not good enough, and that, am I imposter here? Am I sharing something that I shouldn't share? Pushing through that and realizing you have something valuable to share. And sometimes all it takes is one person saying something, the right thing to us, or a question, or someone believing us. So I love what you've shared there.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Also, working with these private people, private clients, because I just do a little bit of private coaching. I'm going to do a group coaching because I've only limited it because I don't have the time trying to get this book done. But I've seen now over this last couple of years, I've seen how many people really can take this information and run with it and get better. Because even me, the reason I was so scared was because I was starting to have trouble with memory. I was starting to have trouble with containing my emotions. Like it was like I just wasn't me. I didn't feel like me. And I remember my mom saying to me before she was diagnosed, I don't feel like me. And I realized that I was feeling that I didn't feel like me.
Wow, that would scare me. That would scare me.
Yeah, and I was feeling that, and now I had a lot of changes in my life recently, but that didn't make any sense. That didn't answer the why I wasn't feeling like me. And when I started learning all this stuff and following the protocols that you have to do to look after your brain, I started feeling better. And I never forget why I go in a room anymore. And I was forgetting that all the time. I would get from my office upstairs and down into the basement where my husband's office was, and I would forget what it was I was asking him by the time I got there. That's pretty scary. That's like a minute walk.
That can be. So actually, let's do this. Maybe if you're open to it, share a few things like on this journey. It sounds like you actually put the stuff that you wrote about into practice for yourself and to help others. Is that correct?
Oh, yeah.
Do you want to just share a couple of things and then how people could reach you to get more information about what you do?
So sure. So a couple of the things that we have to do to protect our brains is exercise. And I was not exercising. I mean, I would do like walks and stuff, but I really wasn't getting my heart rate going. Mm-hmm. So that's one thing. Exercise, 150 minutes a week, aerobic exercise, eating a whole foods plant-based diet. I say plant-based because from what I've read, the research and how much better I feel that it reduces the chance for inflammation. And that's a huge contributor to brain issues, dementia and Alzheimer's. Sugar, just cut it out. Just no, say no, just say no. And he kind of refined anything processed. And those are the top three things that I always say to people. If you can get those three things under control, get your exercise, get a proper diet, and that takes work. It's not, you can't go to the store and just buy this stuff off the shelf. Even if you're busy, you're going to have to take time and cook. Sorry. And the processed anything. And of course, sleep. Good sleep is essential. Too many people, especially in North America, hold it as a badge of honor to be able to get by on 5 hours of sleep. That is not a badge of honor. No. You're setting yourself up for a world of grief.
What would you say, like, for people that want to switch diets, because we have these foods as a kid that, excite us, that, have positive memories, maybe even associated with them, mm-hmm. or comfort memories. How do you help your clients get through, and make that switch to the food?
Yeah, so what we do, the wonderful thing about learning how to cook this way is I can make just about anything that you had as a kid a vegan version.
Oh, yeah.
Like shepherd's pie. I make the most amazing lentil shepherd's pie. And even my carnivorous friends absolutely love it. They'll ask for it, mm-hmm. And cheese, because cheese is really one of the most inflammatory foods you can eat. So I make a vegan cheese out of sunflower seeds and nutritional yeast, and even my husband, who's a cheeseaholic, and I'm not having any luck getting him off it. He loves my vegan mozzarella.
I want some of it now. Now that you say that, I can ship a little vegan mozzarella this way.
I will send you the recipe. It is so freaking easy. Yeah, it's very easy. And actually, one of the things I do I have a group on Facebook. If somebody wants to join and learn, it's free. You just join me on Facebook.
Tell them what the group is and how they could join you.
Sure. It's called Prevent Dementia and Alzheimer's. That's all it is on Facebook. If you go to Kate Kunkel, I have a public profile. Just go to Kate Kunkel, Kunkel. You'll find me there. And I have the links to the groups. Ask to join. all of us share recipes, great ideas on how to, make this transition and to save our brains. Because I like posting blogs from other people. I post my own blogs. I do a blog every couple of weeks with ways to help people. So that's probably the best way to find me, is just go to Kate Kunkel on Facebook or katekunkel.com, my website. Everything's on there and you can find it. And I love to share recipes because I love shocking people when they say, oh, I could never do without that. But you can. And the comfort food thing. I go back. I'm from German. I'm a German. We have my Oma, man, she was the best cook that I can remember.
Yeah.
And the smell, like I can remember the smell of the food she used to make. And I learned just recently how to make sauerkraut. About a year ago, I learned how to make sauerkraut. And it took me back to Oma's farmhouse kitchen when she would be making the sauerkraut. Isn't that amazing how scents trigger things?
Yeah.
Wonderful things and fearful things, yeah?
Absolutely. I love what you shared, and we'll have Kate's description in the Kate's information in the description of this video. Please reach out to her. I think what you're doing, Kate, can change a whole bunch of lives. And as we become clear in the head too, that drops some of our fears as well. So I think following what you're putting out there in terms of your energy and your diet and your exercise, if you're doing those things, your fear is going to come down just doing what Kate's telling you to do there.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Like I said, I feel so much better, and I'm me. I feel like me again.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing everything on this, and look forward to talking to you again.
Thanks, Chris.
You're welcome.